Excuse me. How is everybody? I'm going to give you a moment, jump on and say hi. Happy Saturday. I'm excited. I'm excited to just kind of do a quick run through of just different things to think about and tips and ideas and all of that good stuff. So jump on. Definitely don't be shy. Say hi. And I'm going to make sure, yes, everything's working. You guys can hear me, all of that, right? Okay. Now, while I'm waiting for you guys to jump on, I'm actually going to, let's see, let me do a quick screen share actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Let's just cover the basis of what kind of resources are available that we put in the community to help hopefully streamline when you're going through your own sets, and just questions that have come up over this last few weeks. Many of you guys are aware, like we weren't necessarily thinking, it was a big what if, I guess is what I was going to say, is that the products, the pre-orders and all of that stuff would ship before the beginning of the new year, but we were able to start shipping a few of the orders around before Christmas, and then of course they kind of been getting more and more out. But so I guess a lot of the things that were kind of planned for this event, I've been trying to, when I have time, get as much information and answer as many questions as I can into the community, because I know so many of you guys have had your hands on these organizing products and just dying to get organized. And I know that feeling, I've felt that feeling. And so with that said, in this event, I definitely want to walk through it. If you're struggling with a certain thing, like, feel free to ask questions. In some ways, I wish this was Zoom so that I could pull you guys on and hear you, but I will try really hard to keep my eyes on that chat. So definitely feel free to speak up and ask any questions that you might have. Good morning. I know it's so nice to be with you guys when the sun is out. Actually, we did get a little snow yesterday. I did get a few pictures, but not like what everybody expected. There was a little snow, and now I'm looking out this window and just watching all the ice melt. It's just kind of melting. So it's a beautiful morning here in the Carolinas. So I hope it's beautiful where you are. All right. So with that said, let's talk about resources, right, that I want to dive in first. So we're going to talk about more about the stuff that you'll need. First off, there is this checklist. If nobody knows where it's at, let me know in the chats. I will multitask here. Let's see. I'm going to first pull up. Oh, that's right. I was going to share a screen. Let's just do it really fast. Let's share our screen. Make sure everybody knows where to find things in the community and or where I'll be posting stuff. Okay. Let's see. Community events. Okay. All right. So we're here in the community, right? Underneath, we've been posting a lot of things under the Kiwi news and promotion just when people ask questions, right? There's been like a few posts that when things came up over the last few weeks, we were posting them and related to these new storage organizing products and or just tips around those suggestions. Now, recently, if you go underneath the Inspire and Be Inspired section here, okay, I'm going to close all these other spaces. I'm just looking at this space to the left, the Inspire and Be Inspired section. This is where you can find tips, inspiration, and we're going to go to organization because that's the topic we're on. And I just posted, well, there's this one, okay, this one. This gives the checklist that I'm referring to initially. So it's going to break it down, a lot of the information, how to add tabs. We're going to go over a lot of that too as well. And then some basket suggestions. I'm going fast, so feel free to go back here. I'm just showing you where it's at. And then just some other common questions that did come up. I think we caught everybody's questions, but, and then this is the checklist right here at the bottom. This is a one sheet and this is a larger font. So this is the resource that first and foremost is where you're going to begin. Okay, you need that checklist. Now, while I have you, I'm going to mention this other one that talks about the category dividers, and we're going to go over that, but that's also here. And then there's a third one that's going to post right after this event that has this in it, but I'm going to share it right now. Let's see, go to downloads. There we go. No, oh, there we go. Okay, I'm going to add it to the chat. So this is another resource. I was finished up last night specifically for this event, but I will make sure that that also gets put over into the same section. So you'll have those three kind of articles that you can refer to, and each one of those has a resource printable that you can access. Cool? Okay, so let's talk about those resources really fast. The first one is the DT check. Well, I keep calling it DT checklist because I'm so used to saying the DT checklist with the app, but this is just a checklist that we put together specifically for this phase of using the tabs, okay? And again, I'm going to just talk about resources, then we're going to jump into it. There's another resource that I ended up printing off. Where did that one go? And we're going to talk about this too. This is in that category one, some subcategory sticker options. We're going to talk about it. And then there's this other one. This is the one I just put in the chat right here in this event. But again, there will be a post right after this event with this download. So all three of those PDFs, basically, that I'll be referring to is located in that section, okay, in the community. But this one, it hasn't been posted yet, but I put it up in the comments. And I could stick the other ones in here too. Well, I only have the PDF checklist in the one pager, so you'll want to probably, you know, go get that one from the right place if you want it larger, which it is nice to have it larger. My eyes are definitely like, straining, but hopefully that's helpful. Okay, now that we've covered all of that, on top of that, from a product point, we have the template tabs. Okay, these cover, this is a catch-up item as we refer to it in the pre-order. It's kind of a one thing that we can get caught up so that we can start implementing these new tabs with every set that we release starting in 2025. Okay, so this set includes products or sets that we released from 2009 through 2024. Let me get my years right here. So quite a few years here, products. It does not have, let me try to remember on this too, the sampler sets, because that was a correlation of other sets. That doesn't include that. And it doesn't include the creativity tab that was only given to instructors. And it is missing, which we already noted, the captions tab, which we are working on. Okay, so that was just, it got missed in production. I think it actually got, we knew how many, and you all got two at home, right? I think most of you guys did tab, and I think that's where it got missed because we were counting them and we're like, yeah, we have them all, but I think one got doubled up and one got missed. We'll figure it out. We'll take care of it. Then we also, for those of you that have club sets, are a club member, this includes the sets that were released as a club item. Okay, so there's that. There's the category dividers. We're going to talk all about these, dive deep into them and throw around some insights. So things that can kind of throw out there. And then definitely, this is a good opportunity too, as a community. If I share something and you have an idea, throw it in the chat. I will read it out loud so that everybody can hear your perspective and your insights regarding how you are approaching your organization if you think differently than maybe some things that I share, okay? Okay, and then we have the new pouches. So the new pouches, we designed these to include the slits across the top, a little thicker quality plastic, and also the just a cute pop of color. Cute pop. It was like, we like cute. We like cute and simple here at Kiwilane, and practical. So this is really where we try to really develop the system. Well, add to, I guess, enhance this storage system in a way that really worked better with what our products were and how they can help you. And I will say, the thing that I'm hearing on a repeat from a lot of you guys that are emailing in and sharing is that because of the tab addition, that you are feeling inspired again. You're finding things in your sets and you're feeling inspired again, and just, that's lovely. That makes me so happy. I think I definitely felt the same thing. My takeaway, as I've shared before, is I really loved that I could find things quicker and I could put things back. Like when I mixed sets on my table, I was able to put the pieces back into the sets that they belong. And so that's another valuable thing that has just been really helpful when I sit down to scrapbook. Now, we also have, and I don't know how many of you guys have these, if you have the version 1 storage cards, you can either use strong adhesive, and I did get strong adhesive. I bought some just for this, and what did I do with it? I'll think on that one. I don't know what I did with it. But either way, the recommendation is strong double-sided adhesive, okay? And if you don't want to use these easy strips. Now, if you have not placed your pre-orders and you're hoping to get the items because we just put them in the shop and some of these products have sold out, we'll look into possibly another pre-order to help guarantee people that maybe missed it the first time to get the ones they want. Just know we'll address that on the site. So I won't definitely take too many questions, or that's basically my answer to that question. Oh my gosh, they're sold out already. Like, are you guys going to do this? I'll address that in another email and situation. Okay. Okay. So those are the general products, right? So here's where I started. When I started to organize my designer templates, first and foremost, and a lot of you guys have already experienced this, right? You need to take the tabs. Forget everything else for a moment, and let's open up the tabs. If you are just starting today with starting your organization and you want to kind of kickstart it at this event, then let's do that, okay? All right, and make sure that you check these, which is why, again, I'm going to reference back to this resource. We have this checklist, right? And oh, I will note on this checklist, again, I only printed one page, so it's larger as that other version. This one is really small. There's a little KC in parentheses next to ones that refer to the Kiwi Club, okay, versus this one. Now, I recommend you just do one pack at a time, okay? Just do one pack at a time, all right? So let's go ahead and go through that. I'm going to open this up, and I'm just going to walk through the thought process in regards to that. When you open this up, now granted, I'm like, why didn't we have them package it with all the colors all together? And there's a lot of these templates in here, guys. And we knew that, like, we just knew that it would be a lot. But it's just going to take a moment. Like, but at the same time, it is what it is at this point. Kimberly says she accidentally ordered 2 sets. Can I email support@kiwilane.com? They can help you with that and give you all the details regarding the policies on that. Julie says, I plan on buying the new pouches when I have depleted my supply of the old pouches. I have the run out of the border size pouches, but I have quite a few of the pouches that are divided into 2 spaces. I found that I can just pull up on the glued line to create 1 large pouch. It's not perfect, but it will work if I need a full pouch. There you go. And absolutely, again, this is why we provided other solutions, whether it's the easy tabs or like using double-sided paper, double-sided adhesive. You can tell the terms that I'm used to saying, but double-sided adhesive, to adopt these to help accommodate and use with the tab, the addition of the tabs. And so absolutely, Julie, I totally understand that would be the case for many of you guys, okay? oh, okay, so Darcy says just besides the double-sided adhesive, she also used a brad to attach the tab to the pocket. Wow, put those brads to use, guys. And then Beth said, make sure when you're going through your tabs that some don't stick together. I had several that were like that, and I just wiggled them loose. Oh, I didn't have that experience. So again, insights, throw them in there. Okay, so first step, please make sure to check them. So don't check them one at a time. First, organize them by color. Okay, so when I say that, you're going to see tabs that are the same color, right? I got to get this rubber band off this. There we go. So, right, you have this, and so that's all I did. I started to make piles. This just got to a new color. This is another one. And so you just want to put those into piles. Okay, now the slightly little ones have a different teal with green. Oh, the sun is coming in now. There we go. All right, so there's just slightly different colors on those sometimes. Okay, so that is first and foremost. That's gonna take a minute, guys. Okay, I'm gonna do just a few here so we can kind of, again, walk through that. Again, separate them first and then take a pile. And then that's when I would take one of the piles that I just separated, and then I would come over here and I would find what category in this checklist those are in, and then I would start going down them. Now, remind you, the ones with KC are coming from the other bundle. So you might get through and check all the ones and then go through the Kiwi Club bundle and check the rest. If you're missing any tabs, because there's a lot, there's a lot to get caught up, and we really tried to make it affordable, this bundle, and like we knew it was going to be pretty much an effort on all of our parts to make this transitional addition happen, but it's worth it. Okay, the effort on everybody's part is worth it. Okay, so definitely, again, just, I don't know, you could start the process now or listen to the whole things to consider when you're organizing your thing, and then hopefully sit down this evening and start to go through the steps that we're talking about. Okay, let's see what else people have to say about it. Frames does not have a KC next to it. Wasn't sure if that was correct. Frames. This is like small writing one. Okay, I will look into that. I can do a quick. Oh, maybe you just don't have. When we were seeing those comments happening in this community, we were updating that PDF where I just showed you where they were. On my copy here, I do see that it has a KC, so that one's good. Kathy said I separated them all and then put them in alphabetical order before I checked them off. That again would streamline it for sure, because this list right here is in alphabetical order in each of those segmented sections. So, and again, if your brain works that way, if you're ready just to jump in once you have your piles and you want to kind of scan the sections, then that works too, but that's a valuable takeaway. And having the strips available again, because I would like to be able to move the tab if needed. Yes, Hope. So like I said, these sold out, these little easy tab strips that we added as an option to upgrade the storage solutions to work and accommodate the tabs. And you're absolutely right. The reason we did that is so that, say a new set comes out and you want to move what you have, and we're going to talk about this here in a moment, what you have next to each other in a pouch. It is great to have these because you can actually move the tabs versus like if you use a strong adhesive. Again, I think it's based off of everyone's preference. Budget is definitely a big thing for everyone. We're not like, we understand that. We understand that reality. So, but again, needs and all desires. So Hope, we will, like I said, we need to take a temperature of how many people are interested to make sure we can hit our minimum quantities and other things on something where we were tending it to be kind of like a catch up, which is why we initiated the whole pre-order, but we understand it. Okay. Yes, Robin, we will keep the new plastic sleeves available. Those are intended going forward. And then, as I said, in the new releases, so only new sets that are released, not everything in the shop right now has a tab part of the packaging. It's only new sets that are released in 2025 going forward. We're just including these tabs part of the product. Okay, so then of course you'll want to pick up more pouches as you add to your collection, and these pouches will be, our intent is to be part of the shop. You know, they're selling fast and you guys are adding to your stashes, and so we'll try to keep them in stock, but the intent is to keep them as a staple product because they work really great with what we feel is good for our signature product, right? All right. How many tabs are you caught me off guard on that one. I know the answer to it, but I don't know it like for sure. I feel like there is, I don't know. I was like 177 or 179 tabs in the template tab and 79 in the Kiwi Club tab bundle, Deborah. So I don't have that right off the top of my mind, tell you the truth. So again, start with the tabs. Hopefully a lot of those tips and insights that we shared are valuable. So you're going to separate them by colors. You're going to have different colors. You're going to start that process first. Okay. Once you have, this is actually a really easy one, so we're going to start here. This is and related to the scrapbooking kits category, right? And so then of course we would come in and we would go, again, mine's really small, I understand, I just printed on one page. Check all three of those off and that category is done. Okay. And then you could do all of the other ones. Circle the ones that you're missing, email support@kiwilane.com and tell them, hey, I went through my tabs, I'm missing this. If you don't have the template, then you can decide, because like, again, if we unvault these sets in the future, okay, that's been considered a new release. And that then if we unvault them, they will have the tabs, because at that point we're doing a new production line print of those basically. Okay, so email support if you're missing them, but if you don't have them, that's up to you. I'm just telling you that, like, if I didn't have it, I wouldn't need it. And so I'd be like, oh, I don't even have this set. I'll have to wait till hopefully it comes out in the future. But overall, that's what you need to think about in regards to the tabs. It will probably take you a bit. Okay, it took me a minute to get through those. The next part I'm going to share with you is what sets I put next to each other. And this is this new PDF that I finished last night. And I hope that this really saves you guys time too and streamlines maybe some ideas. I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about my thought processes, why I put certain sets next to each other, and why I use the categories the way I use the categories, meaning the way I choose to separate out these into these suggested categories. Okay, so we're going to jump over now to that. Now that we talked about tabs, let me make sure nobody else has anything to share on the tab experience. If you experience something like Beth said, like she said, notice sometimes they stuck together. If they do, I definitely agree with her. Like, just kind of like wiggle. You don't want to tear them or something. Just, you know, never force something when it's doing it. This, I always hear my dad when I think of that sentiment. Don't force things, like, you know, you just gotta have to slowly do something whenever you feel a little nudge in that case. Okay. How are you storing your very large templates? We're going to talk about that. And are there tabs for the vaulted templates? Yes, because vaulted is included in these bundles that I just talked about. Okay. In these catch up tab bundles, they accommodated for that, because we don't know who owns what and all of the ones, and which ones did you pick up at maybe a show or verse. So that's why we just did a all release bundle and an all Kiwi Club bundle. Okay, and that does encompass anything that was vaulted as of today. Okay. Lori, the missing tabs are going out. They're going out USPS. They're a different type of shipping, so you won't get like a tracking like you normally see orders in your system go through. So you probably just don't see those notices. So unfortunately, they won't have that type of notice for a replacement item. Okay. And then again, Linda, where you find that tab list is in the resources. You might have jumped on here in a moment, which I'm going to go grab the PDF. I'm going to just go download it. And we're going to just throw it in the chat for sake of. Let me click on that, download, there. And I did the large one so that people aren't squinting on the one pager. Okay, so there's the tab checklist, just put it in the chat. Okay. Support has been awesome. I did have one double pocket tear on the side. Any ideas how to fix it? Oh, you had one of these. Again, email support if that happens. Like definitely, I don't know if you pulled on it or not, but if sometimes those seams aren't as tight, so you can email support. We'll definitely want to take care of it. You could. One lady was like, I'm just putting clear tape over it, and so she because she didn't want to wait, she wanted to use it, and I did hear someone else mention that. So, okay. The new checklist I just am mentioning as far as what side by side I put in the chat up above. And again, we're going to jump into that. Okay. But here it is again in the chat. All right, guys. So that is the tabs. Now let's talk before we jump to the, what sets to put into what pockets and how to categorize them. Because there are other two components that definitely I want to share some thoughts around, and then also hear your guys' insights so that we can get it all out together as a community in this video. All right, so with that said, okay, the tabs, 3 ways to put the tabs on. We kind of covered it a little bit. If you're using the new pouch design, right, the slits are here. This is sturdy. We ended up going a little bit sturdier because I wanted it to feel like it would last and, you know, hold up for the most part. You stick one side of the tab in, and you do want to bend a little. Again, do not force. Don't like over force, I guess I should say. You're going to bend just a little, and then you're going to slide it in. And then I just kind of bent it back out and straightened. That's how I did that. Okay. So that's how to use it on this tab. If you're using an easy strip, okay, you want to, of course, take the adhesive off the back of these strips. And so let me make sure I can do that with my nails. Okay, take it off. And then decide where on your version 1, if you're adopting, you know, transforming those in to use with the tabs, we're going to take that previous storage card and place it wherever. I got to do this laying down so that I can get it semi-straight. Okay. Okay, give it a nice crease, right? Give it a nice crease. And then we're going to take, again, the tab. You're going to slide it in one side. Kind of got to bend it and like sliver it in there a little bit. And then just again. Now, here's another valuable thing that I think is worth noting. And we'll talk more about this when we get into pouches. I definitely recommend adding the tabs before you add the templates. So if you are taking one of your sets, this is something I noticed, right? And you're like, it still has all your templates in it. Just take your templates out, put them to the side for a moment, put the tab on, pick up your template set, put it back in the pouch. Okay, so definitely I recommend putting the tab on first and then filling your pocket with your pouches. Okay, all right. And then, of course, a strong adhesive. I bought a strong adhesive. Let me double check. It's like driving me crazy. I bought one just specifically for this. Well, you know, I bought it. I put it somewhere. Okay, well, I gave it a try. Point being, lots of people were saying they'll use their red tape. There's this, let me actually just jump over to Amazon and I will find a link of the type that, of course, I think could work. So your red, your double-sided red strip tape, you know, basic scrapbooking stuff, that's probably strong enough. I think people have mentioned they're using it. It's pretty good. works fine. And then of course, there's other type of double-sided tape that would probably do the trick as well. So anybody have experience where you were typing your tabs on that you learned? Like any lessons that you learned, if you were doing where you were just taping the tabs on, you weren't using the easy strips or the new pockets. Okay. If you're waiting for another pre-order, it will be a few more months on the easy strips. We are going to put out a survey on how many people are interested to see where that falls. You'll just have to decide, like, do you want to wait or not wait? Okay. I think that's something that would be going through my mind. Okay. Gwendolyn said score tape works. Great. Susanna, you're welcome for the larger print for the older eyes. Like I said, I printed this off and my eyes need it too. I just printed the one pager because I was like, I've already gone through the process. I'll use it as a visual reference, but no, I need the larger print too. So otherwise the magnifying glass, but, okay, perfect. Okay. So put the tabs on first before you put your templates in. Okay. Let's talk about putting the templates in and what pockets go to what. This is where this other sheet, right, that I just put up in the chat here. I'm going to do it one more time. We're going to call this one is the, oh, are they named the same? Oh, we don't want that to be, let's see. We'll rename this one. This is side by side. Oh yeah. Okay, I uploaded the same one twice. Side by side. Where, okay, why isn't that coming up? I think I uploaded the same checklist twice. So we want this one. Let's see. Why is it still doing that? That's so weird. Hold on, give me 2 seconds. Like, close up in personal here. Rename. Let's just rename it so I know for sure what I'm looking for when I upload. That would be helpful. Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay. Yes, if you're using it on the triple, on the easy strips, you do need to trim a little off the sides. If you guys remember correctly, we were like, oh, I don't know if we'll release the triple, but you guys asked for it. And so we put the triple in towards the last minute on the pre-order. These were already in production, made and stuff like that. So that's a good point. If you're wanting to put 3 across a triple, you might need to slim it up a little bit so it fits the width of 13 inches. Okay. Alien tape or similar strong and removable, Roslyn says. ATG gun, Jennifer says, also worked great. There you go. Yeah, that stuff is strong stuff too. So more tape options and things like that. Okay, and then Lori brought up another good point. I'll read it because she just posted it. It's going to go along with when we get to the inserts and pouches and stuff, but it's a valid point. She put colored cardstock in with her pouches, probably with the Kiwi clips, because the Kiwi clips, early ones, didn't come with inserts. But then we ended up figuring out the shipping rates actually changed a little, so we were able to add those back in without it costing more for you guys for shipping. But with that said, there's these sets, of course, that come with an insert, and I do keep my inserts with my templates. I have seen that question a few times. I do, and I actually like that you can pull them up easily. But then you have some Kiwi Club ones, like say, for example, this one here. Yeah, that's a great idea. Adding some colored cardstock behind here can also help. if needed. But the tab also helps too. I think that's just more of like a aestheticness, and I agree. I like that. I have a friend, Pam. I don't know if she's on here, but Pam loves the color hot pink. So she replaced all of her. She didn't even keep these ones. She replaced all of them with hot pink colored cardstock, so that it was, you know, her brand, her brand of her desires in her organization. So that's another valuable thing in that regards. I actually think I have a picture of her old organization. That's a side note. I'll come back to that here towards the end. You guys remind me, and I'll see if I can find a picture because I thought it was just so cute. It's going to take a minute. I took that picture years ago. But all right, let's jump into, I had these notes. I'm trying to stay on course here for the most part. So starting with the tabs, things to consider when you're working with the tabs, using that checklist. We have a resource for that. So definitely make sure to use it. And then of course, when you put the tabs into the pouches, there's 3 ways to do it. We talked about that. Now, really quickly before I move on the tabs, I've heard a lot of you guys talk about different things you want to approach the Kiwi clubs. So this kind of rolls into, or like, what categories you want to do. I personally integrated my Kiwi clubs into my other sections. I didn't keep my Kiwi clubs to one spot. And the reason why I did that is because for me, when I sit down to scrapbook, I'm usually like, oh, I'm scrapbooking a birthday page, or I'm scrapbooking a Christmas page, or you know what, I want more of a neutral page, like something that's just neutral, right? Like whether that's for my son pictures, maybe some just shots that I have of him. Maybe it's not too themey. It's more just inspirational or reflective on some family photos I did. So then I might want to add, oh, I would love a flower right here, right? Those are all concepts that I have experienced in my scrapbooking. I think the thing that I've heard, and you guys share in the comments, why some people like to keep their Kiwi clubs in their own little section is because they like to know that maybe there's an associated PDF that you can grab from the Kiwi Club PDF library in the community, so you can find inspiration, because those do come with the digital idea book, right? And so you want to take those and use those as well. They like to know what year. They said then they can like search for it. I use the app for that. So I'm still trying to understand that thought process, but it is a consideration. Because I would recommend the app if you're searching for something specific, or, you know, because the app will tell you if it's a Kiwi club, because it will say like the month and the year next to the set. We added that based off of your guys' suggestions a year ago or so. So let's say you do want to note the Kiwi club separate. That's why I said, let's only focus on one bundle at a time. Then like Trisha, she had a really good idea. She took a label, right, and say this is a Kiwi club. I already have this tab out. Say this is a Kiwi club. She just took a label and put a month, 1/23, whatever, month and a year. So she just added that little notation. You could also flip this over. I just don't think you could see it at first glance, but you could put it over and put KC so that you know it's a Kiwi club. But that probably, I don't know if that's as helpful, to tell you the truth, now that I said that, because I think there's something, if that is something that you feel like you'll work really well with, or that you want to know right at first glance, then I would just recommend putting a little label. And if it has a month and a year, then you know that's the reason I did that, is because I need the Kiwi Club associated to go look at that digital PDF. Now, also for club members, I have not finished this, but my goal, okay, is these QR codes, right? These little guys that come on the packaging in past ones, I'm working on a principle, okay, that we can print these again. And then you could even, if that's the case, then what you could do is stick this on the outside of your pouch. And then that's also how you notice these have associated Kiwi Club digital idea books with them. So those are all things. If you're asking me personally, I just integrated all the sets together. That's how I did mine, but I am going to do this, and I am going to add that into mine. Okay. Some of you guys already have those inside of your pouches. You keep them and that's awesome too. Okay. So those are some thoughts around the Kiwi Club approach versus whether you integrate them, you keep them in their own little section. But even if you keep them in your own little section, you probably still, if that's important to you, want to note them some way or another so that you can say, when you're putting them back, oh, this goes in my Kiwi Club section, if you are keeping them separated. Okay. Let's see. Anybody else's thoughts on that? Okay, so again, I haven't finished this yet. It is on my own little goal list, but I will. So just know, club members, that's one I did that I was like, oh, we should do something like this. Just haven't quite gotten to it. Maybe I will knock them out of the park and get them done sooner than later. And then again, yeah, Shelly says, I cut the Kiwi Club QR codes and name it and tape them to the back of her pouch. See, so good. Now with the shifts in some shipping requirements and things, our Kiwi Clubs will come with an insert similar to this. And then on that insert, the QR codes are now printed. So that's in effect in, I don't know when that was, October. Lots of things have been coming in from efforts from 5-6 months ago, because they have to wait for a little bit of time before they go into effect. But again, those little thoughts and little tidbits that you guys share in the community definitely spark different inspiration. Sometimes they work related to operational things. Sometimes they don't, but there's usually a solution, which is how creativity works, right? Okay, cool. Anybody else have any, Trisha, you said, can you, Trisha, I don't know if you can, kind of share why you chose to keep your Kiwi Clubs different? Is it because of the QR codes? If it's the thought process that I just shared, then great. But if you have a different perspective, I actually would love to read that out, and so everyone can kind of hear that too. To talk about side by side. Okay, yes. So now that that's the only other comment on tabs, I just wanted to circle back around to Kiwi Club's tabs and the points around them. Now we're going to go into, those are all things, again, that you need to think about initially before you start mixing them in, because then you'll have to backpedal, and we want to help you if you haven't jumped yet into it, things to think about. Okay, now when you're trying to put your templates into pouches or convert them into the pouches, or reorganize them while you're organizing your tabs at the same time, this is where this side-by-side list comes in. This is how I personally, as of today, have my templates set up in my stashes, okay? So this is how I have them. And then we'll talk about baskets and stuff like that. So if anyone's like, well, what do you store yours in? We're gonna talk about that. Okay, so I mentioned I do by the categories. So let's talk about categories, because that's going to explain what's side by side. So these category dividers, which again is something that we offered, they have printed suggestions here on the front and blank on the back. When it comes to categories and how you want to divide your templates, you want to segment them out. That is, all of our brains work different when it comes to that type of thing. So just know, I think it helps to segment your templates out some way or another, because again, when you're looking for a specific set, it's helpful to narrow down how many you're looking through to find a set. So that's why I kind of recommend categorizing them a little bit in your collection. Some of you guys, and again, this is a valid option, are like, I don't want to use categories. I like to just keep mine alphabetical. So maybe you keep all your accessories, but you keep them alphabetical. I'll talk about why that doesn't work for me for accessories. It definitely works for the borders, your border section. You have a more likely chance of keeping those alphabetical. And if you like to keep things alphabetical and you have track record of when you put things back and they go back in alphabetical, then I think that's wonderful. I wish I was that type of person. I'll be honest. I think that's so great. I think more than anything, I'm like, I'm lucky if it gets back in the pouch and back in the thing. And I don't really tend to, I don't know, add the extra alphabetical. Some people genuinely enjoy it and it comes quick to them. So I totally understand that. Okay. So the categories are, of course, we have our photo sets. My photo sets are always at the front of my basket. Always right here in the front of my basket. It is the first category. I keep the 3 sets behind here because I use them on every page. So the photo sets are always to the front. Okay, so that's one thing I'll add about that. We have backdrops, and these suggestions are based off design functions. Okay, so design functions, and meaning that backdrops, they're universal and they play a specific role in your layout. So when you're looking for something to kind of feel in a space, then what I would encourage you to do, if you end up doing this, or this is how my thought process works, knowing those details of a design concept and design functions. Oh, I want to fill this space. Oh, like what type of backdrop would like fill in the space or anchor it? Okay. We'll talk more about that. I'm not going to dive deep in here, but I'm definitely going to really talk more about design functions and different things to consider and any helpful resources we can do to help kind of grow all of our muscles in those areas, so to speak, in 2025. Okay. We have adventures, we have nature themed, we have our scrapbooking kits, and we have our borders. We already had a discussion in a previous community post about subcategories, which I will talk about here too. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning categories before I jump again into what I have side by side to explain this sheet here is because, again, you might choose to do your differently. I did use these suggested sheets, okay, for the reasons I just shared, right? Now, let me go ahead and jump into this. So this little, you know what, maybe I could do a quick screen share. You know what, that might be better. Use technology smarter. Okay, here we go. I'll come back to comments and catch up on those here in a moment. So you'll see here that the suggestions in the first column is pocket sizes. Let me explain that really fast, and then you'll notice that they're separated into sections because, again, I use the category dividers. And then I did have a preference to add some subcategories. So the pocket sizes, the columns on the left here, those, let me explain to you what the terminology is. If it says medium 9, it is it's the 9 pouch, okay? Which is what it's called in the shop. The ones that aren't called necessarily what's in the shop is the double or the mix. Those are the 2 different designs that are in the accessory pouches. The double, when I say double, it's referring to this design where it has 2 6-inch ones side by side. When it's referring to the mix, it's referring to this design pouch, which is like the 8-inch something, and that 4-inch one side by side. Okay. So then with the 9-inch one, when I say 9-inch, it's referring to this one, the medium 9-inch. When I'm noting the large, it's referring to this large 13-inch one. And when I'm referring to triple, it's definitely referring to the triple, okay? So it's referring to this one that has 3 pouches, which we're going to talk about different ways you can utilize all 4 slits in that. And when it says border, I'm using the 1 single pouch that is the 13-inch width, but it's the shorter one, okay? So we call it border because it does fit the nice 12-inch borders nicely. But I will say, as we dive into this, you'll see that I don't just use this 1 pouch for borders. It works actually sometimes for other templates. So that's kind of my recommendation when we go through this checklist, okay? I'm going to go back to sharing my screen, make sure on these comments. Okay. I know, Kate, we're going to get to side by side, I promise. Note that some of the QR codes for KC kits are on the back of the templates. Yes. Do you pass QR codes from many, many years ago still linked to PDF? Yes. If it's no longer working, Debbie, if you're like, oh, I scanned one of the codes from last Kiwi Clubs and it's no longer working, email support at kiwilane and they can look into it, but they should be working, okay, to the individual pages. As club members, you get access to the full library, and every single one of those is in the community in the full library. So there's two ways to access. You can access them individually or you can access them through the library. Shelly says, I mix my tiny templates in with the other templates. I'm thinking of creating a tiny category and keeping them separate. Okay, awesome. I might come back and tell you some thoughts more on that. I have the Kiwi Club separate. I have everything set up, like the app has it up. I make full use of the app since I can easily search the app and did not need to recreate the wheel. There you go. Okay. So do you have a divider for seasonal and then used a blank divider behind it in the spring, summer? Yes, we'll talk about that. My categories are always been holiday, seasonal, KC, borders, photos, and really everything else with the a la cartes in front and sorted by pockets, which I would agree, Trisha. Like that's how I started. And then I started to really dive into when we started to prototype. And I've been playing with this for some time. And then I kind of challenged some of those ideas. And then I started to think, well, does that really help in these scenarios? Because I agree with you, Trisha, like I did have like 20 borders, that, but then I was like, oh, like, this is kind of where it's really going on when I sit down to scrapbook. Now, granted, we still wanted to make these affordable, which is why we say if you want to do subcategories, you might want to pick up 2 of these packs and utilize the stickers or another option or use the back when you want to add more options into what the primary category suggestions are. Okay. Okay, and then Kimberly, I will go back to how many pockets do you need in total. We actually have a YouTube video for that, and I will figure that out while we go. Okay. Let's see. Again, trying to get all your questions on the checklist. Did you somehow, many did pouches if you did everything? Yes. Okay. Yes, I will get to that. How many pouches you need, and I'll talk about subcategories, and I will talk about placement. Let's go back to our side-by-side. I'll dive into some things to consider when you're thinking about what templates to put together and why I put mine together. And if it helps you, then kind of like what you guys are talking about, don't reinvent the wheel. Hopefully it saves you time, which is the whole point. I put that together specifically for you guys for this event. Okay. Yes. Okay. I'm going to jump into categories really quickly, talk about all my thoughts behind categories and what I do. So first off the bat, I keep my sets together. Okay. I do not, I've heard people share like, oh, I pulled all my flowers out together and I put all my flowers together. I put all my arrows together, things like that. Okay, I know I keep sharing the screen and then not sharing it, but here, this is, if you don't use the app, okay, and then we are going to jump into it. I just want to bring all these insights in because this is going to help really streamline, hopefully, taking full advantage of all these resources. The app, guys, just go to the App Store, DT Checklist. You can put it on your phone. You can download it on your desktops, versions, whatever you want. The reason I mention I keep my sets in the sets is because we refer to them as sets. Like we'll say we use springtime 4, 7, 8, rings 1 and 2, right? So I keep all my sets together. If I'm working on a project, again, this is your design buddy in a lot of ways. It's your what do you own and what do you want, plus your design buddy. So this is always with you. We don't have to update new versions for you to print off. This is the go-to resource, okay? And then somebody's like, well, where do I get the new updated version? Because I wouldn't want to print. We don't do a printed version. So we're not going to do a printed version. We've already done that process, and it just it doesn't work. So digital app is the way to go, okay? So this is my little hype on the app. Download it, use it. If you're looking for a flower, or, well, flower's a good example. You're going to click on the search down here, and you can search names of templates, terms, right? So shapes, you can search shapes, and it will pull things up. We do our best to try to get those into the search engine. If we miss something, just let us know. We can have the app developer added into the search system for future. If you're like, I was searching this term, but it didn't pull up what I wanted, just let us know. We'll update it, okay? Butterfly, things like that. And then that can help you narrow down what set. I'm looking to have them also add in little code icons or something like that, that then when you search for a certain thing, it pulls it up. I gotta spell it right. I was like butterfly, and I was spelling it wrong. So then you can see here, the best that we can see, it pulled up any sets that included a butterfly design of some type. Maybe you're doing a page where you just want to do a really cute border, and on that border trim, you just want to layer it with so many versatility and variety of butterflies. By the way, that would be so cute. It would be a lot, but it would be so cute. Then maybe that's your objective. That's your design inspiration. Then come in here and start saying, like, what sets have butterflies? I want to go pick all these butterflies out, right? And then the templates have the names printed on them as well, in whatever set it is, or the name that it was given. So then again, when you go put it back, you can put it back. Haven't done it yet. Then this is what I'm talking about when I say this. Right now, if it's Kiwi Club, it will tell you a Kiwi Club next to it. But what I want it to do is when you search it, it will tell you what category it's coming from. Because right now at the bottom of the app, it's by categories. But I want it so that when you search it, that it still associates maybe with a color or an icon, something. We'll figure it out what the app developer can do on that, okay? So that is the primary reason why I keep my sets together, okay? For all the reasons that I told you, we refer to them as sets when we talk about what recipe we used on a layout, what ingredients, so to speak. They're defined by the set name and then the set name's number, okay? So hopefully that is something really valuable. So if you are not using the app, I use it probably once a week, then definitely download it. It's free, pull it up. Okay, here's one other interesting little tidbit, and I want to get this word out to as many of you guys as possible. When you guys click, I want it, you don't own it yet, you click I want it. When we are evaluating what sets to unvault, we check this data. We go see how many of you guys have downloaded the app and like how many of that percentage of people have checked this specific set as I want it. So it also helps us to kind of calculate future unvaultings and things like that when you're using this and you're like, then you click the want it versus own it, okay? Also, when it comes to the want it versus own it, let's say you do use the search function and you search hearts, right? And then you're like, oh, I love that heart. And if you have it updated with what you own versus what you don't own, then you can say, oh, bummer, I don't own that set. And then you don't even have to spend your time searching. You know you don't own it. So I guess where I want to is just really point that out. And the last thing I'll say on this is, when you're going through your organization, as we kick off this new year and we're getting organized with our new storage options, let's also organize our app, meaning your specific app. If you haven't downloaded it, download it. And then once you go through and you use the printed version, in this case, as current printed version, we will not keep up on this. We won't do it, but we will try to keep up on this, okay? Take this, transfer this over here, click which ones you own, and that way you now are up to speed across the board. Cool? Okay. Okay. All right. Now we're gonna go back to side by side, I promise. Let's see. Okay, so a few things I want to point out. Yes, the seasonal, I'm going to come back to the subcategories, okay? I mentioned in my own categories that I specifically had my own desire to separate subcategories out in the seasonal section, more than any of the other sections, I'll be honest. Now, there is an important thing to note. I keep saying this, I'm so sorry. The tabs, so for example, this is seasonal. We did actually end up having that match. It might not be 100% across the board going to apply, especially when you add subcategories in. But we tried. Anyways, it's going to, let me find the one I haven't used. They'll match. The tab will match the divider, okay? Oh, my light's starting to come in this morning, which I love this room because of that, but I picked the wrong place to record. Anyways, so that's that, okay? All right, I think there was one other thing I was gonna share really fast, but it'll come. Every time I open this PDF, it reminds me of something else. Okay, so we talked about the pocket sizes, what those refer to. All right. When it comes to the medium size, when you open up, okay, so this little square, this square means that this is a single pocket. It's not missing anything. When you're looking at the spreadsheet and it has gray here, this means that this pocket is empty. So right now, I don't have anything sitting side by side North Pole in this double pouch. I'm sure as I add to my collection, that pouch will be full, but it's just empty as of today, okay? The X just means, again, it's a single pocket and it wasn't intended to have anything else. So it's done in my mind, okay? Other than that, those are just kind of the general things about knowing when you're reading this list. Hopefully it makes sense to you, but that was my intent with those little icons or names or terms. But so it's pretty straightforward. In a double, I have trees and cozy colors. Double, I have Peekaboo, Tiny Egg Hunt. I kind of, when I was going through, I had to like move things around just a little. And it's kind of nice that we're kind of playing a little catch up because of that, I was able to kind of get them repositioned how I'd like. So for me, in a triple, I put all three of these because they all have to do with kind of winter. So if I had something that I knew from experience or just recommendations, just kind of using the templates that I'm like, ooh, these two sets actually often work well together, right? So let's take this one, for example. I used, let me see if we can go for a little bit of bright and get rid of that sun so I don't have to keep fighting it. I put gift, party, and tiny celebrate in that, okay? They all have to do with type of birthdays. And so right away, I can pull this pouch out. Even if my first initial desire is party, I might see the other associated sets and be like, oh, I'll tuck that one in as an extra layer, okay? So that is something that I thought about when I was deciding what sets to put next to each other in the pouches. That applies across the board, just other sets too. Sometimes it didn't align. Sometimes there may be like 5 in there that is not quite aligned that way. It's just, you know, based off of my collection, that's how it is. And you might not own all the same ones that I do or don't own them all. So you might have to adjust what you put side by side because you want to fill the pockets and not keep them empty, right? Now, when I'm on the triple pouch for a moment, this did come up, you know, that this one wasn't centered here in the middle, that it still had the 8 slits versus 6 slits. And that purely was manufacturing, was like, hey, your one die cut template has to be the same on that. Otherwise, it would have been ridiculous. But I will tell you, in that point, let me go back to my spreadsheet. Let me find you a good example of this. There are times where I will double up on a pouch. Okay, here's one. Here's a triple under nature that says 4 tabs are in this. When it has Treasure and Bonnie, that's still one tab. Those are together on one tab. And so those were in one pocket. So every column represents a tab, not necessarily a one template, right? It's just the tab based off of how the tab was designed. So let me find under my nature themes, let me pull it out here, the example that I'm referring to in that section. So it's a triple, and I put the 4 on there. Okay. So I did 4 tabs across, but I doubled up on putting hello and 3D Jasmine here in the center. Okay, so that's a thing that I want to say. And then I'm gonna show you lots of samples of this. So I'm just gonna key to repeat. Whoops, I threw one out. I'll get it here in a moment. Little bags that I do whenever I double up on a pocket. These are really helpful, and I'll share the link for those. Okay, here, let me show you another example where I doubled up. Right here in this pocket, you're going to see on my spreadsheet, it says a double pocket, right? But you're going to see 3 columns with these sets mentioned. Well, over here, because these are the same associated, they're just a little smaller, right? Like we had some sets like that. Nature, tiny nature, wildflower, tiny wildflower, floral, tiny floral. That was like early on, but you're going to see that sometimes. Springtime, tiny springtime. Either in those cases, I know somebody mentioned it, I don't know, Shelly, she kept her tiny still separate. I like to, again, pull my tinies next to the other ones, because the whole point of those tiny versions was so that you can easily, effortlessly add that other layer quickly into your design, because they're made to work compatibly together from that design focus point of view again, right? So you can double up on a pocket and just put 2 tabs associated with that one pocket here. And so what I did is my little tiny one is here in the back and my one is here in the front. In that case, okay? Or you could put tiny over here and nature over here. And you could choose, I don't want to double up, but I did double up. And so I wanted to share that, okay? Here's another example of that. Actually, here is the one that I was just talking about. We have wildflower and tiny wildflower. Actually, one of the things I love about this old classic wildflower set is that it actually allows you to go triple layers effortlessly, which is so fun, okay? Let me stand back here because of the light. So again, you'll see here, I do just have the tiny one just kind of in here, the 2 tabs doubled up on some pockets, and then floral, tiny floral, doubled up on that pocket. Okay, so I did that often in that case. Another situation, so we already talked about triple. I did that often with triple. And so here, I just put those 2 templates. And the great thing about the pouches, is that they're clear. So right away, I can look at this and say, okay, reindeer is supposed to be in one of these pockets. And in this case, I'm like, there it is, right? Because I could see through the pouch. So that's kind of, again, some of that thought process in those doubling up of pouches. Okay, other scenarios in that. So when you look at this side by side, again, you're just going to have to go through it individually, see which ones you own. I'm mostly going to show you examples of situations you're going to run across. So we talked about the triple being sometimes used with 4 tabs versus 3 tabs. Somebody mentioned that they were like, oh, that's going to kill me that that middle one is not centered in the middle. Well, you can use up to 4, so that's a positive. But if you want that center one, because you're only using 3 across the triple, I need to give you guys visual examples. Sorry, we're going to go back and forth. If you want this one to be centered, because in this scenario, I didn't use 4 tabs, I only used 3 tabs. Some people were saying, that's going to drive you crazy. It doesn't drive me crazy, but if it drives you crazy, they were saying, I'm going to use double-sided adhesive and place it right in the middle. Totally get it. When you have scenarios you want to use 4, it's there for you. If you really want to make that centered, use some double adhesive and position that in the center, which was a valid point. I think it's a valid point. So I'm glad they brought it up because I'm sure that's going to relate to some of you guys on that. Okay. Again, just more examples of this. You're going to see here on my spreadsheet, right? Let's find this example of springtime. It's underneath nature, and springtime, it's in a double pouch, right? But you're going to see 3 tabs. And how that translates into your pouches is I have springtime and tiny springtime together. Okay. On the other ones, I had it slit in the front, and this one I have it slit behind the other one. So it just depends what you want. I actually think sometimes I like it just there in the back, like that. Whatever works. And then blossom is over here on its own. Okay. So even though you're like, but this double only has 2 pockets, whenever that plays into effect, I'm doubling up with the one that is pretty much the same name. It's the same name if that's the case. Okay. Or you could choose which ones that you double up on. Okay. All right. So let me scan this one more time. I'm going to come back to your guys' comments. I'm sure you guys have a lot of comments on what I just shared. Another situation that stands off really fast to me. Okay, so here in the adventure section, we have a border. Now, remind you that border is referencing that single short pouch, right? That the borders are typically good in. Backwoods set and Bear and Ranger are not a border. They're not a border. And this goes back to what I was saying before, where I was saying, I think those are down here. But I was saying that they are not always, they're not just for, did I already pull that sample out? Where did I put that one? Not just for borders, okay? So hopefully that explains that. Oh, this is another, I'm gonna pull this one out. I think I might have pulled Backwoods out because I was like, oh, there it is. Okay, never mind. So here we are, single pouch, okay? Because of the length of this border, I chose to put it in here. Tell you the truth, you could put it into a medium size. I was questioning on this one, but I ended up going with the border, probably because I had an extra border. I didn't have an extra medium pouch. So you can adjust the size of the pouches if you want, based off of your inventory that you have, okay? But in this one, I did put the 2 tabs. And what I did here on the Ranger and Bear is I just added this little bag that keeps that kind of separated inside of the pouch, easy for me to kind of access. But again, the reason why I chose to maybe put this one here versus just in its own little pouch is because I needed this one to go into a larger one. But I wanted this one to be associated with this one, mostly because from a design function, they'll really complement each other. Most like if I'm doing an outdoors page, a camping page, a trap, like that kind of adventure, Yellowstone, whatever, I most likely would want to be like, ooh, I'm gonna throw those little 2 guys in with the rest of these, pull in a border set of my choice, and you're good. You're like, when you sit down to scrapbook, sometimes you just need to pull out 2 little pockets and start there, right? We often talk about this when we're talking about the featured sets of a given month that we share at Kiwilane. This is what I do. I don't necessarily every time I sit down to copy like this all the time. I start with initial few, a border and some type of embellishment or some type of inspiration that I want to. I really have an itch to use rings. I might pull rings out because I have that itch and I want to like scratch that itch. But then I'll like pull out a border to kind of frame the pictures. And I always use my photo sets. I mentioned that at the beginning, that I keep them at the front. So that's just a given. But then I'll start with this. The only thing that I have out on my table are a few. I'll start designing. Once I start getting things going, that's when maybe I start saying, ooh, I want an arrow here. Let me go check the app. There's a set and an arrow. Let me pull that one from here. So I might end up start cherry picking as I go along from other sets. This is where then sometimes when I sit down to scrapbook, I have this pile of templates in my tray, right? And I then have to put them back. Well, my initial ones that I pulled out the pockets on, I'll just nail hang that, will go back into my pockets. I may have not pulled all the other cherry picking pockets out. So at that point, I'll take the individual sets that I might have cherry picked and start putting them away. That's generally my work scenario. That's often what it looks like. And when I say tray, I have like this little tray. You could pick up something. I actually really want one that holds the pocket with it. Often what happens is I take my templates out, design with them, stick them in this tray, and I just have the pocket laying to the side. Listen, we used to carry these. They're not friendly for shipping. Honestly, mostly because too, you can go to a dollar store and find something very similar to this, way more cheaper than we can ever manufacture or even deal with the issues with shippings and all of those, you know, comments related to that. Like, it's just more of a headache. So just know that's another little sideline tip. Hopefully that's helpful. Okay. So let me double check your comments. Let me go back. Let's go back to our side by side. Those are some thought processes around them. I'm hoping this is helpful. I can't really see your comments, so it makes me question, but in general, I want to make sure I explain this side-by-side chart to you. Print it. If it's helpful, note it, but hopefully it answers your questions that you might come across when you're going through this spreadsheet on your own. Here's another example. We got medium 9, which is a single pouch, but you're going to see 4 columns filled, which means 4 tabs are on this one pouch, okay? And I just doubled up again. I put all of my, these larger placemat designs, because they're just one nice solid template. So they fit nicely. They're easy to kind of pull out, find, and put back. They're not like small, tedious little, you know, smaller items. So in that scenario, it worked to double up with so many because of the size of the template. Otherwise, it would have been a nuisance in a lot of ways. My solution, if you double up and it's a smaller set, is to maybe add the little bags. I think these are called stamp bags. Totally Tiffany has them. I will share the link over to Amazon in the chat. But yeah, they are, I think they're referred to as like stamp packs or bags or something like that. So honestly, any kind of little bag, but it just helps. It helps kind of stick them back in like that. So yes, I doubled up on some sets. When I was organizing my pouches, I did come from a design approach. Excuse me, what sets look really good together, or maybe not even that I know for sure they'll look good together, but they'll probably work nice together based off of the theme or the event. And I'm scrapbooking. So again, what you see here is like similar garden ones underneath the flower sections. And I chose to put those together, okay? The last comment I'll make, because this is, I know, a big, could be a big discussion. Listen, the nature of the designer templates are versatile. So it is so hard to know what everyone might want. If you're like, there's some outliers, like for example, autumn. Autumn ended up going in the nature section versus the seasonal section. And that's probably based off of our idea books and samples. It was more commonly used versatilely, not just in fall. It may have gotten its name autumn just purely because it was released around that time. But I've used this owl, which is like a nature element, an animal, right? I've used it on school pages. I've used it on a baby page. I've used it, right? So they're just so versatile. I've used it as a spooky owl for a Halloween page. Because when you change that, people change look as well. So that's why in the app, I want to have little symbols of what those categories are so that hopefully that helps in that regards too. I know that will help me, so hopefully it would help you guys that I've come across. So that's something we'll work on that. And then there were some inserts, and an adventure or autumn was one of those. I did have to trim down at one point. This is trimmed down too much, probably in an old pocket that I put it in. I think there's like 3 inserts, unfortunately, and we'll try really hard to catch this going forward, that you might need to trim down just a little bit to stick it into the recommended pocket sizes that you see. Actually, unfortunately, one of the ones that come to mind is the olive board, which is like a recent one. I don't know what happened there. We put processes in place. It sometimes, you know, whatever. Point being is I had to take like 1 inch off of that insert to even fit in the border one. I was like, how did that happen? But once you trim it down, again, going forward, we hope to avoid that. But at the same time, just note that, like, if you're like, how did she fit this in here? There were a few that I just trimmed the insert down a little bit. Okay. So yes, the templates are very versatile. And so there are some sets that you're like, why is this in this section? I would put it over here because your mind is like thinking of it in that realm, which you're not wrong. Like, it's valid, but it also could be the other way for another way. So I think, like I said, when we were like going through picking out what colors and things like that, it was basically what do we see most often used in our idea books and our samples that kind of drove some of those decisions. Doesn't mean that they can't be used in other times of the year or for other events, right? So olive board is an example of that too, because olive board has some ornaments in it, but it has a train, the most recent Kiwi Club set, which is adorable. And then it also has that really cute, nice placemat border. And the placemat border can be used on a wedding page. It could be used on a baby page. It could be used on so many different things. But I'm hoping that even despite that, talking about categories and what may work for you, what may not, and using the app, that will hopefully solve any cracks in that. And then also having these visual tabs will help you when you are kind of, you know, thumbing through your sets and collections. You now see that visual reference, because we are visual people, that will spark some ideas that, like, oh, I want to use this on this baby page, even though it's over here in this section, right? Because now you can see those visual tabs too. So hopefully all of those situations playing in will also help spark that creativity and inspiration in ways that maybe that wouldn't have otherwise, really, in a lot of ways. Okay, I'm going to stop chattering for a moment. I'm going to go right on back and I'm going to see what comments we have. Pamela said I would never have doubled up, but now I'm thinking twice. Again, just certain situations where I found that it was, and some situations it wasn't, which is all things that I thought about based off of the spreadsheet that I shared. How long is it going to take a new shipment of pouches? If you're talking about like the ones that are sold out and we have to consider a pre-order on those, I'll work on sending out a survey on Monday. Not all of the products have sold out, but I did notice that the buffer that we bought on some of those pre-order, like the tabs, we were just trying to get those as a one-time, but I know that some people just didn't get the message in August. Do you know what I mean? And so we understand that. I'll send out a message on Monday, kind of taking a survey on the temperature as far as how many people are needing those. I think the other things that have sold out are the easy tabs. I think the triple pouch is sold out. But other than that, I think we still have the other items in the shop, but they are that little buffer that we bought for the time being is going fast. So I think a lot of you guys are, you know, have the new year itch to get caught up, maybe missed the pre-order in August, weren't guaranteed the sets, which then unfortunately we might have to do another pre-order to help guarantee you the items so that you're not in this position again. But I'll send out something. I'll work with the team on Monday and we'll regroup at that point. Does the side-by-side have the KC templates on it? Yes. Yes, Kimberly. I did not note what is KC. Again, maybe that's where you take your tabs and you write KC on them before you break them into the other ones. As I explained at the beginning, I mixed all my sets in together. I don't keep my Kiwi clips to one side. I mix them by the design functions of those. And Kiwi clips range quite a bit. There might be some seasonal ones. There might be some more all around universal sets and other ones. And again, this is where you'll notice within one set, you can have an outlier. So it's just kind of us saying, here's a suggestion that we would categorize it. I'm thinking I will copy the tabs and put in a binder so I could flip through quickly and see if there's anything I might use on a layout. Yes. Okay. So Kathy, I'm glad you brought that up because somebody was like, hey, does anybody like organize theirs in a binder? Which I know many of you guys did. And so absolutely, that was one thought I had is, well, you know what? You still might want these nice printable things. Either you could stick them on the outside of your binder, or you could just tape them in the front. And when I'm saying binder, it's like the flipping binder. They lay flat. Some of you guys are preferring that, and I think that's what you're referring to, Kathy, in that regards. Let me see if I can find an example of that again to give it a reference. Okay. Will it be possible to get the past idea books that went around with the sets? I got some of them a while ago. You mean the digital idea books that go with the past Kiwi Club kits? Cherie? I want to make sure I understand that. As I've been listening, I just finished updating everything I have in the app. Awesome. I'm glad you're multitasking here. I love that. And let's see, where did it go? That's going to be so helpful. Thanks for that. Good, Julie. I'm glad. I noticed that you have a Ranger/Bear with backwoods, but it was part of the month with cliffhanger. Is there a reason behind that? You know what? There is a reason they split those apart. Initially, they were separating anything that had like a border, cliffhanger, Elise Avenue, Ripple. You can still keep those sets together and just put them in one pocket. But in those scenarios, because the sets have different names, stick with me, we chose to separate them. But like backwoods, we didn't separate those because we ended up in our naming convention. There was a point that Mindy had started naming all the sets different names. And then we were like, no, we want them to be as a collection with one name, you know, and things like that. So some of the early sets where they were different names, we were like, well, then let's take this opportunity and separate them out. Hopefully that makes sense. So like Cliffhanger, Bear, and Ranger. Typically, we would call it Backwoods, and it would be all these three sets would be named that, but it wasn't in that phase of time. Now, when there's situations where they all had different names, okay, let me find you an example of that. But they were the same design focus, we just kept them on the one tab. But in this case, we were like, Cliffhanger can go live on its own, but the Ranger and Bear could go into the adventure outdoors type of area. So I think that's kind of what did that. Oh, okay, so like this. Teapot and rolling pin. Well, we kept those together because they would be categorized within the same theme, right? Easily you could do that. But now, because Ranger and Bear, they can go into its own section because they have different names, and then Cliffhanger can go over into your borders section. All right. All right. Oh, the nine inch pouch is sold out too. Okay, that's good to know, Vicki. It must have just sold out over the evening. No, the wrapper for the sets. Oh, the inserts. Ooh, I don't know. That's going to be too much work. Oh, that would be a lot of work to pull all those inserts from all the files. Feel free, Cherie, to email support on that one, but I think that would take an employee way too much time. I'd have to probably have you pay for it or something, but it would be a nuisance, I'll be honest. Is it a link to your cart in a marketplace? Is a link to your cart in the marketplace? A link to your cart should just be right at the top. It should have your cart balance in the website. You should just see a total, which implies this is your cart. It's always sticky at the top, whether you're on the desktop or your thing, not in the marketplace. What storage container do you use? I'm having trouble finding something this will fit. Great. Let's take another drive over to the community because this source is going to be so helpful. Okay. So right here, we have this organizing your templates with kiwilane, new tab system, and then it's basket suggestions. A lot of this information we've covered, but you can recap it, general information that's good to know. These are some suggestions on storage. We recommend at least a 14-inch type of container. We do not produce a container, mostly because, again, you can see how many people's styles are different, how many options there are, and in some ways, again, it's just, honestly, a product like this is just not cost effective for us. It would be a nightmare in shipping. And nobody would love to pay the shipping for that. We can't compete with Amazon. Like, it would not be great. And so there are just some suggestions, like Trisha mentioned some that she found on Container Store that would work with the size recommendations we give. Julie recommended this other one that she found on Walmart, if that works for you. There's pros and cons that might work for you. Sandy mentioned that she has these baskets that she chose to organize hers. And Sandy even mentioned that she likes to do hers alphabetical. So again, that's a beautiful example of an alphabetical organization versus category organization. Loretta mentioned that she picked up this basket that she fit perfectly on her rolling tray, which is how I use my templates at home when I'm at home scrapbooking. And she got that from Hobby Lobby. Okay. This other one, Kathy said that she purchased from Walmart. So what you're looking for is at least 14 inches. So remind you, the pouch's length in and of itself is 13 inches. So you're looking at something like that. Okay. And here's another suggestion. And there's some more on those. I talked about on the go. Watch this video. I won't cover it too much in this event, where I talked about what I used at home and what I use on the go. And that video is here in this article as well. So all of that's really good information to kind of inspire you in different ways. Also in this article, the one that I mentioned now, okay, let me go back, hold on. Where you're gonna find this is in the community under the organization section here, under the Inspire and Be Inspired space. There's specifics group right here that's for organization tips, okay? And you want things that related to templates, then you can click on this. This one is other information which is already shared here. I'll just kind of give you an overview of what's in here. I talk about the category dividers a little bit more in depth than what we talked about here. We talked about the different types of categories, what we would describe those categories as, and then also talk about why we broke accessories into 5 of their own additional tabs. There's also a video here that talks about how if you want to trim down the category dividers, you could do that as well. So on the category dividers, we did put this little guideline. If you want them to match the same exact sizes of your pouches, then that's what that is in reference to, okay? The reason why we did the size this way is so that when you are, like in my case, I have them in this basket, okay, on my tray. This is how I have them at home. Again, watch that video. It'll be a lot easier to keep up on that than from this view. I think the size, it looks really great in something like this because it doesn't look so like small it stands out just a little bit more, which helps you get to the section that you want. And I explain it in that video even more. Now, also in that one article about the category dividers, I have a few videos that you'll want to check out if you want more on that. And we ended up printing off some additional subcategories based off of community recommendations. Okay, the sun. Okay, so that PDF is there too in that other article related to categories. Okay, so you could check that out. Another great resources we provided. This was just based off some people's like, oh, what about this? What about that? You may use all of them. You may not use any of them. I know for me personally, I will utilize the seasonal. And that is where on my sheet, I had back here at this, I did plan on taking my seasonal category. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to break that up even within that section into subcategories. And so I'm just going to take another category divider, and you could put something here on the back, a sticker. We provide stickers. You can handwrite these. It's just when we were talking, I was like, I don't want my handwriting on these. So I created stickers mostly because I wanted them. Also because I was like inspired by a lot of your guys' comments. And I'm like, yeah, stickers, let's do it. So that's something to note. Another great thing in that article that you'll find. All right. I think that covers everything. I'm going to read back through the things. We talked about pouches. We talked about you could double up on pouches, that you could really take advantage of the option to add multiple tabs to one pouch. We talked about the dividers and where you can find these resources for the dividers and how to attach the tabs. You guys let me know, but that's the general things that I remember thinking about when I was going through the process myself. And then hopefully, again, a lot of the resources we provided are helpful. Yes, Pamela, it does mention in that article, we use a 1x4 label, which is just an average Avery. And we included the link too. I included the link of the one I bought to print that PDF on. So sometimes it's finicky with your printer on, I don't know if you guys experienced this. So I did put a little note in that article, like, we'll do our best, but everybody's printer is different, but it worked for me. So it worked for me. But I used the label, address label, pretty universal, 1x4, correct. It is hard to find a basket to fit the shelves of the IKEA rolling tray. Okay, so I have the IKEA rolling tray. Those suggestions in the articles, Loretta's was using it, Mary's was using it. So it's just style preference, and I totally get it. I will say my specific basket here was something I picked up at TJ Maxx, which I'm not going to have a link to share with you because TJ Maxx is a hit and miss. So just keep an eye out. Keep an eye out, or hopefully some of those recommendations from the community that we shared links with in that article, do the trick for now. And the one that Loretta got at Hobby Lobby, I think she said it was like, I don't know, $4 or $5. So maybe you pick up one for now and you're like, I'm not loving it, but then you keep an eye out for something going forward that you just love, right? Any chance in the future we could get a digital version of the original bound idea books? I love mine. Put all 4 together and heavy to tote. I got a digital version of book 1 way back, but when it was, thanks. Yes, digital versions of the original bound books. Yes, we could definitely work into getting those digital versions back in the shop. Tracy, email support@kiwilane.com so I don't forget, but that is definitely doable. Susan, you mentioned the other day you possibly could make matching stickers. Oh, I just talked about that. There we go. Okay, I was decluttering and had a Sterlite plastic bin, which I found fit in my cart. Lucky. Take one basket, put it in another place. I love that. I'm so glad you made the bigger dividers. Good, Kathy. Again, it's some want the smaller, which is why the guideline's there. But that whole explains why we did it the way we did it. Because of, you know, different perspective, different wants, different needs, as much as we can. We're not going to always fit everybody's needs, unfortunately. I wish we could, but unfortunately it won't happen in life. But what is the largest pouch for the biggest templates? So the largest pouch for the biggest templates is this larger 13-inch one. This again is this one. Oh, and I will talk about how many pouches you need. I will share that resource. That's the last question I forgot to get to so far that I can recall. If I missed your questions, please shoot them back in there. And this one, only a few sets kind of are needed for this one, like rings, bouquet, right? So that's 13-inch. Also, just so for whatever it's worth, you might buy a few pouches of those, and I have some extra because we don't have as many large ones, right? Lots of medium sizes and other needs for the other pouches. But if you have extra ones and you're making some page layout kits using our page formula that we've been sharing for over the last decade and a half on how to organize your paper stash, which if you're having the itch to organize, check that out. And I'll share where that resource is. This will also fit 12 by 12 papers. So you could stick paper into them, which is why we did a little bit, not your 12 by 12 exact, but we did do them to 13-ish so that it will fit your traditional 12 by 12 paper as well. So I think easily you could fit 5 to 6 sheets is what we recommend for a layout kit there. I'm going to take you for one more ride, and we're going to go back to our community here, since I did mention paper. And we're going to click on paper in our organizational tips here. There's 2 organizational videos for paper, okay? But outside of that, we have cutting tips, organization, these main common questions, photos, and paper. That's kind of what I live around with my scrapbooking. Honestly, everything else is just noise to me. It's what I do, and that kind of explains a lot of how I approach scrapbooking and also how I try to approach my supplies that I have as well. But there's lots of resources here on the picking paper process and formulas and tips that I was referring to. Okay. Okay, so thankful you send links and do the research needed for problem solving. I know it takes a lot of time and resources. Knowing your efforts are appreciated. Oh, thank you, Hope. I really do appreciate that. Really do. You know, I would love for just as scrapbookers to really, and you know, I know that organization is a huge thing to really feel creative and also to get the most out of what your supplies you have and transform those things into finished pages. And so here at Kiwilane, like I think one of our goals that's always been, how can we, yes, simplify the process in a lot of ways, but also make methods and systems that allow to support you, scrapbookers, us as scrapbookers, to really just enjoy all the benefits more freely that this hobby has to offer and the joy that it brings. And anyways, so yeah, there's little things like this, little hurdles that do come up, like organization or learning how to store your paper so that when you sit down to scrapbook, it's a lot easier to get kick-started into creating a page versus staring at an empty page. These are all common things that a lot of us have dealt with for years, right? And so a lot of the formulas and resources was really around narrowing it down to what scrapbooking is about, right? Like our pictures, ideas, creative ideas, and also, which is where the designer templates are, that spark of inspiration, and then tools that actually are practical to help you finish a page and use up the supplies that you have. But no, we appreciate you guys and your support. It's definitely worth it. Like I said, it's a work effort on all of our part, but it's worth it. And that's true about these organizations. So again, if you guys are missing tabs, because I know that there's been a few of you guys. And when I say a few, like so far, maybe 50 or 60. So it's not like unbearable, but unfortunately more than we wish there was. If you're missing tabs, email us at support. We'll make sure to take you. But ultimately, we want to be there. We want to help you guys from that spark of inspiration when you sit down to play and get your things out to start creating to that finished page when you put it into that album. But along with that, really, you know, reflecting on, it's not just about the finished page. It's about all of that fulfillment and all of that joy that comes in between when you're doing the page as well. And that we want you to feel that as much as possible when you sit down to scrapbook. So, because that's the piece of the whole equation that is really flows into the other aspects of our lives, right? We all need moments where we go and do the things that bring us joy and scrapbook. And hobbies in general offer this, but scrapbooking is like top of the notch because it has you sit with gratitude, it has you reflect on your memories. And yet when you engage in a form of creative hobbies, it has the recharging ability, right? Where terms like it's cheaper than therapy, you want to tap into that when you're going through the emotions anyways, as much as possible. But unfortunately, sometimes we have little hurdles. So our goal is to push back on all of those and say, let's simplify it as much as possible. And then also come up with some things that help when we do face creative blocks or organizational issues. Like, how can we help in that? So wish we could do more. Wish there was more hours in a day, tell you the truth. So all right, guys. Well, I hopefully have covered everything and I've kept you long enough on your hopefully beautiful Saturday that you're enjoying. And hopefully this now will, again, help you like not overthink it. Organization is a process, but just take it step by step, starting with organizing your tabs into different colors, hopefully using the spreadsheet that I provided to figure out what patches go into what. And if you have to break it into a few different days, then just do that and just take a little at a time, and it pays off in the long run, and then you'll be able to just enjoy it once it's done. But like I said, it's going to be a little bit of an effort, but totally worth it. And of course, if you have any questions or you come across anything or something that you're like, oh, just shoot it out in the community. We'll hopefully answer any questions that you might have that we didn't cover thus far, or that's not covered in those 2 articles that I just shared, because there's lots of information in those 2 articles. Okay. On the app, is there a place to click to show only all the templates you have and not the ones you don't have? Ooh, no, but I'm screenshotting that. That's a very interesting thing that I'm going to ask the developer about. Okay. Okay, you're welcome, Kathy. Can individual organization files, documents from all the helpful articles be listed separate in the resources section versus only within articles? It can be hard to remember which article contained which document. Yeah, I can look into that. I'm gonna take a screenshot of that as well. I do wish there was just like a file place. Do you have a link for the file/paper holder in your background next to your door? I do. Here, I'm going to take you guys on one more field trip here. This is not a video I have been able to do yet, but I've been gathering details on that. I will do another video on how I organize my paper. I've done little snippets here and there. It's been on my list to kind of share with you how I've broken down where I store my paper. Why isn't that showing up? Let's try one more time. Hold on, the tab that I'm trying to take you to is on Amazon, and it does not want to pull up. Oh, there we go. Okay, so here's this link that I will put in the chat. This is just some common, again, I really don't want these to get big because the truth is I want to share with you guys and I want to encourage you to buy things that inspire you, but you really just don't need much. And so here are just some basic things that I have in my personal scrapbook room that I've used. So to answer your question, there's this paper stash organizational folder. And this has like the bags and the little clear containers that I've used. These are the bags that I've used for years. They're more cost effective in a lot of ways than like maybe the Totally Tiffany's, although I love the Totally Tiffany's for collections. This is one that I've used for years, and I talk about this in the paper articles that I purchased those. So it just has thing, and then it does have the Totally Tiffany, like I said, these little pockets, more cost effective. But as far as the containers go, let me go back. So these are a few things that I have used or are currently in my stash. These are the ones that I use. Sorry, I'm off track. For photos. This is what I use when I'm organizing my photos, which is another thing we talk about often. Storage organizers. Okay, so here are the stickers that I used. I did throw in here some people's recommendations. Oh, this new little tray, I actually haven't received this yet. I did put it in, but I haven't purchased it yet. I'll let you guys know my feedback when I actually get it. Lots of tray options. Love my tray. Whatever tray works for you works great. This is the diaper bag that Gwen introduced me to. Love it. This is like kind of my away, when I go away scrapbooking, which again, that article will break it down that I just showed you. So I'm not going to go too much into all of the nits and gritty about that. But I have found that these little baskets right here work really great with the typical IKEA thing. So I take these and I have like one of these IKEA things. You can just get one at IKEA too. It's probably cheaper, to tell you the truth. But in general, you know, one of those cubies. And then, oh, I should put that one into this folder. Let me go back. And then I use these clear baskets and I stuck them into the little things that you see in the cubicles. And it worked great. I've used it for a year or so and it works really great. So more information. I will try to do we could do a whole nother thing on that. I could take a whole other hour talking about that. But in overall, when that Amazon link, there are some few things that I've used and done, and most of them I have used. They're pretty simple, pretty standard, because I like simple, I like standard, I like practical. But I've used them at least over a year. So because of that, I would recommend them. So, all right. Oh, and then Trisha says the clear photos that we recommended for, or the clear bags that we recommend for photos, she's also used to separate out her templates. So you can double up on its usage on those clear bags. All right. One of the holiday breaks, I organized my craft room, took 2.5 days, but donating a ton of stuff to an elderly care center, which includes tools, other crafts, and 12 by 12 paper that I had, and a ton am not used. That's awesome, Trisha. I actually, when I remember first initially trimming down my own paper, similar to what you're talking about, I remember hitting that part of my journey, and I donated to a teacher. It was like, there are just some papers. Listen, we have said Kiwilane Kiwilane's playtocreate system can make your ugly papers even look good, which is true. I will take that challenge any day because I really do believe that. But at the same time, there are just some papers you're like, you gotta just let it go. You just have to say goodbye. Like, it's just not gonna be helpful. So trimming down, it's an interesting thing because it's somewhat hard. I think it depends on what generation and stuff like that. Like a lot of, anyways, but it's very therapeutic in and of itself too, trimming down. So when I share, like, I do have a scrap table in there, but this stores all my paper. So all my paper is stored in these cubbies. I have one that holds, I'm going to do a different video for this, guys. I'm going to do a video for this. It's on my list of things to do, but the list just keeps growing. But I have one for my holiday papers, one for my more neutral travel pages, papers that are more in that realm, one that are more pastels and pinks that are in this one, more springy colors, and then one that are more bold and bright type of patterns or palettes and that. But I also separate mine into pre-layout kits. Check out the articles. If this is all foreign to you and you haven't heard this stuff, this is stuff we've been sharing a long time here at Kiwilane, and it has transformed our paper from the very beginning because of the Play to Create system. Okay. Awesome. Yes, the diaper bag it's a diaper bag, and we keep it like we say it as diaper bag, but it is a diaper bag, and it is really I'm glad that Gwen introduced me to it. So thanks, Gwen. Oh, number of pouches. Thank you, sister. Emily is my sister there. I'm gonna call her out. All right, number of pouches. So how many? So, okay. I gotta find my spreadsheet again. I've had too many spreadsheets. Did I put the Amazon link? Yeah, okay, I did. Let's see how many. We have a YouTube video on this. I'm gonna find that. And then I'm gonna also just walk you through. This is back when we did the pre-release. There's a YouTube video on that. And then in my files here, let's go. The sun's coming in. I'm getting warm. I put this like cozy sweater on because it was cold out, but now like the sun's coming out. Okay. Okay, here is this other document. You can take a screenshot. Here, I'm about to share it. Why isn't that pulling up? It's doing the same thing. Hold on. One more time. Okay. So let me explain to you how this breaks down on this spreadsheet. So accessory pouches, they have 2 designs in them, right? They have 3 of each. So a set of 3 of each design. And the total pouches that I initially calculated were 26 and 28, but then you would take that number and you would divide it by 3, which would make you would need 10 accessory pouches if you're going to get all the new pouches. Again, you can utilize the old ones, the old version, and then transition into the new one. Again, everybody has different preferences. Some people are like, no, I need them all to match. Totally get it. On the border pouch, you need the pouch is 13 by 2 inches, which is what that's implying. You need 63 of those. I'm trying to remember. I'm sure this is correct at one point or another. I'm like, is that correct? But it probably is. But each pack has 6 in it, so you would need 11. This is, again, the full, complete set, like complete set, all the way from 2009. And every Kiwi Club set, all right, is in this. So the triple pouch, you would need 18. That comes in 6 in a pack, so you need 3. These are the total packs, okay? So I'm just telling you the logic behind it. But in general, you would just pay attention to column 9, okay? And then so hopefully that's helpful. Easy strips, but those are sold out right now. In the easy strips, you would need 8. Well, for all tabs, you would need 20 packs. I don't know what the 8 pack. Oh, it comes 8 in a pack. I gotta write my own notes. I haven't looked back at this since the pre-order phase, which was back in August. But so for the easy strip tabs, you would need 20 packs of those. but those are currently sold out. But if we do a pre-order, that's something maybe worth noting. And again, based off a budget, yeah, and then 28. So 28 total of all of these, 10, 11, 3, 3, 1, and then easy strips, 20. Does anyone have any questions? Was that clear? Sorry. A little warm up in here. The brain is overheating. It's overheating. Yes, thanks to you guys for spending some time with me today. When will a new shipment of pouches be back in store? Well, all of our buffer, which we ordered quite a big buffer on those pouches, if they're sold out, it's now going to take us like, unfortunately, 4 months, 4 to 5 months. I will talk to the manufacturer Monday. We'll send out a pre-order concept to see where everybody's, what is that quantity as far as everybody's, now that you've experienced them, used them, seen them, where is everybody's needs, and we want to make sure that we can try to guarantee that so that we're not pushing. We want to have pouches in stock, so we need to make sure everybody can feel, the ones that want to get caught up have the inventories that they need, which is where pre-orders really help, because that helps guarantee what you want and also helps guarantee on our part so that we're not over, using our capital in every possible way as well. So, all right, guys. This was fun. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Yes, the replay will be available, and I will look into the other questions on the checklist app. We have some work there to do. And then Deborah Johnson, I'll look into putting all those resources together. But it's 3 articles, and those 3 articles, the resources as of now, because if you want it for the weekend, you'll want to go into each of those articles and download the PDFs to the 3 resources, which again, the checklist app is a resource. The subcategory dividers is another resource. And then also the side-by-side, which I think I'll post right after this event. So I know I put it in the comments, but this is another resource. So those are the 3 that are really going to help you not overthink it, but also simplify in little ways possible that we can, and or give you easy, quick solutions and options in regards to categories. Okay, so 3 articles underneath the organizational section of the community. All right, enjoy the rest of your guys' Saturday, guys. We'll talk to you soon, and keep playing to create. Bye now.